Good evening and Happy New Year, Las Vegas. Hi, I'm Tom.
And I'm Jim.
Together, we're the Computer Guys, KLEV's newest talk show. We'll be here every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 p.m., bringing you the latest and greatest computer news, tips, and most of all, letting you, our listeners, call in with your questions, ideas, suggestions, and comments. So call in on 731-1230 or use your cellular and dial star 1230. It's a free call. We want this to be your show. So call in and talk with Tom and Jim, the Computer Guys.
Hi, I'm Jim, and we're going to give a little introduction here first, let you know a little bit about who we are. Tom and I are both instructors for continuing education at the community college. And Tom, could you give us an idea of some of the courses you teach over there?
Oh yeah, I myself teach a computer basics class. I also teach a Windows class, Lotus 123, Windows, the wonderful world of Windows.
Everybody's talking about that today.
They sure are. Windows 95, though, Jim, is your baby this coming semester.
Yeah, and also you're all the way up there on the top end of the scale too, Tom, at doing networks as well. Is that right?
Yes. I teach Novell Networks, and I'm currently teaching the administrator. Got a CNA class together, and we just let it go this past semester.
Pretty good, Tom. It looks like we've got the background to cover just about any kind of question that our listeners may have, from our very basic beginners, and I imagine there's a lot of those out there right now. Probably just got a PC for Christmas. Matter of fact, the Wall Street Journal reported that this Christmas was a real banner year. Santa was bringing all kinds of gizmos for, in particular for the Internet. People have been getting modems and all kinds of gadgets like that probably a lot of our listeners don't even know what they are yet. So, and that's part of what we want to help out our listeners, both the beginners and people that may have some network questions, whatever the range is. But tonight we wanted to specialize in for our beginners, because there probably are a lot of those new PCs out there.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of people out there that have these PCs. They got them for Christmas underneath the tree, still in the box, waiting to break out the PCs out of the boxes. Jim, any suggestions on that?
Well, the first thing is that if they have already attempted to take it out of the box and they're a little bit afraid of it, it's the same thing like with being a little afraid to call in on a talk show like this. On this show, you don't need to be afraid to call in and think that maybe your question might be not up to par. We work with the very basic things that are in our classes, such as even explaining, the TV thing, and we call it a monitor, and how it works and how to turn it on. So don't be afraid that any question you might want to call in would be not up to par here, because we do deal with this all the time. I mean, let's face it, most of the world are not computer users, and that's part of our job here, to help you get that thing turned on and make it useful for you.
Yeah. One main question is, what do I do with it now, Jim? What do I do? I bought this PC. Now what do I do with it? I got it set up. I got it plugged in. Now what do I do? I got this hugga-lugga thing. I turn the thing on. It comes up with this funny picture on the screen, and they call it Windows 95. Now what do I do?
Well, that's a pretty good question, actually, too, Tom. I mean, people get these things because everybody else is getting them, because the people are talking about it on the radio, in the newspapers. They're talking about the Internet, and everybody's getting connected together, and people feel like they're getting left out if they don't have one of these things, but they're not really sure why they got it in the first place. So one of the first things we might talk about tonight is why do you have a PC in the first place? What can you do with this thing? And we invite our listeners to call in, and that number again is 731-1230 or star 1230 on your cellular. That's a free call. Give us a call, and we'll be happy to answer any of your questions at any level.
Yeah, so another thing with the PC, you can, a lot of people say, well, I got a homework assignment if they're going to school. Oh, I got to do word processing. I'm not too familiar with word processing. So what do I do from here? Should I go for training classes somewhere, or? What do you think, Jim?
Well, it's always useful if you do have somebody that knows. So you could start out, with maybe someone else in your family is familiar with computers, might be able to help you. If you have somebody around like that, it'll be very useful, one of your neighbors. And lacking someone around that is knowledgeable, then certainly a class is a good way to go. And there are classes around of every level, again, like the true basic courses. We have a caller, Lee?
We do have a caller. Hi, you're on KLAV with Tom and Jim.
Hi.
Yeah, howdy.
Hi, you're on the air.
Howdy. Listen, a lot of the new motherboards are talking about PCI slots, and I was talking with a friend of mine. He said that a lot of the better cards that are local bus cards can operate at a higher, have a higher bus rate instead of just the 33 megahertz that the PCI buses run at. Some of the local bus cards have ones that go even from 40 to even 50 megahertz.
You're talking about VESA local bus?
Correct. My question is, say I'm looking to purchase a new Pentium Pro motherboard, and if I buy a SCSI controller, what would be your suggestion? If I have both PCI slots and I also have local bus slots, which SCSI if I can find if a manufacturer produces a SCSI controller that can operate at a higher bus rate in a local bus, would it be better to go with a local bus controller than with a PCI controller?
Okay, well, first of all, I haven't heard of any local bus, VESA local bus. The standard is 33 megahertz. So, maybe somebody made an extension on that that's going faster. But the PCI, which is also called the local bus, so it may cause some confusion there also. It's PCI local bus. So the PCI should be faster and wider. In other words, it can move more bits at a time at a higher rate of speed. So the PCI, and the reason that it's on virtually every Pentium motherboard that I've seen, the PCI slots, and not the VESA local bus, which are pretty much disappearing, is because it is faster and wider. So on your SCSI controller card, you would want to go with a PCI bus.
Great. Well, thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks for the question.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
So, as we can see, the range of questions can be quite wide.
Very sophisticated there, Jim.
Yeah, that was a little bit higher level question. And we hope that doesn't scare off the beginners, because we're still here to help you learn how to turn it on as well.
Right. And a lot of people go out and they buy PCs for their kids as far as games go, and also CD-ROM. CD-ROM is a big thing nowadays with multimedia. And as far as games go, how do you feel about that, Jim?
Well, about 3-4 years ago, when I first started working with CD-ROMs to any extent, and they were very hard to install in those days, was the first time I saw that the PC could be a real interesting appliance for people to have in their homes. Because if you're just going to do it to keep recipes and that type of thing, I don't think it's worth spending $2,000 and and so many hours of your time to learn how to keep your recipes. You're better off just keeping them on the 3x5 file cards. But when the CD-ROMs came out and they started being able to put this tremendous amount of information on it, I saw for the first time an encyclopedia. I guess it was about the 90 version of Microsoft's bookshelf. They had so much information on there and done so well, where children and or adults could look up information and see the full-color pictures, sounds. They had quotations on there, and it was made in a way that you could easily take the information and put it into your word processor. There was a cut-and-paste feature, and that would paste information from the encyclopedia right into your word processor. So if you're doing some serious study, you could bring along any of that information and pop it right into your word processor. And that's just continuing and continuing. It's a matter of fact, for 96, you will see by Christmas season, promise from some of the major manufacturers, the new version of CD-ROM, which is going to be approximately 5 gigabytes of information on each side, and they'll be double-sided. So for those of you out there that don't know a byte from a hole in the ground, well, each byte is a character, and a gigabyte is a billion. So we're talking about 10 billion characters on one disc. And, little music going on there. Sounds like it's time for a little break.
So remember to call in your questions at 731-1230 or on your cellular, star 1230. That's a free call. We're waiting. Attention, attention. This is an important announcement from the Computer Guys. If you're in a computer-related business, we highly recommend that you advertise on our show. Our audience are people looking for new and improved ways to learn more about the computer industry. Some of our listeners are new to the industry and others may be experts, but they all have a common goal: to learn more. So here's your greatest opportunity to help our listeners achieve their goals by advertising your vital services. So make that call now to the Computer Guys at 222-7575 to discuss your future advertising plans.
The wedding was beautiful, the honeymoon was fantastic, and now you're starting a new lives together. Maybe planning on having kids, buying a home, or both. But what are you doing to plan for your financial future? With the average income of people 65 and older in this country being less than $14,000, you need to start today to plan for your financial success. So do what I did and give Jared Flanagan a call. He's an insurance specialist and registered representative of Massachusetts Mutual. Jared will help you design a blueprint for your financial success. So give him a call at 791-0200, that's 791-0200, for a complimentary financial analysis. Isn't it worth it to you and your new family to start planning for your financial future today? So give him a call at 791-0200 and just tell him you heard it on Weddings Done Right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, one of our sponsors, Laser Dynamics, they specialize in computer hardware and upgrades and system building. They also advertise that they will have the same-day service on site at your home. Also, if you have laser printers, they have recycled toner cartridges, and they do laser jet printers insofar as fixing them and all that other wonderful stuff. So tell Don you heard about his business from the Computer Guys and receive a special rate package. Thank you. And his number is 434-9331.
We're back with the Computer Guys, Tom and Jim, and anybody out there with computer issues that are baffling them. This is your opportunity to call in, get your questions answered live over the air with Tom and Jim, the Computer Guys. Give us a call at 731-1230, 731-1230, star 1230 send on your Sprint cellular phone. It's a free call, star 1230 send. And here they are, Tom and Jim.
Hey, welcome back to the Computer Guys, starring Tom
and Jim.
Hey, Jim, you still there?
We're still here, Tom. We're looking for those questions from those beginners that just got those new PCs. Some of them still got them in the boxes. I recommend you break them out of the box, though, and get them fired up, because this is an exciting time to get into the PCs. What's happening with CD-ROMs and things like the Internet, and of course, I guess a lot of people got a computer just because of the Internet, and we may as well mention now that next week's show will specialize in talking about the Internet. We'll be talking about what it is, how it works, if you're not on, how you can get on, some of the providers that are available to connect you into this Internet. What is an Internet in the first place? And what can I do once I get on there? All these issues, that's what's coming up for next week. Each week we're going to have a different topic. And I think we've got something lined up for the following week, Tom. What is that?
Oh, we're going to have a special guest star, Adam Perez from the community college, and he'll be bringing along with him a computer CAD specialist.
Is that like a nasty guy, a CAD?
Well, I don't know.
A computer CAD?
A computer CAD. I think that stands for, what is that, computer-assisted diagramming?
Computer-aided design?
Oh, well, you know.
Oh, well, close enough.
What do I know?
So in that show, yeah, we're going to cover all types of graphics, drawing, and as you mentioned, we'll have Adam and an expert on AutoCAD, which is a specific brand of computer-aided design software. It's used by a lot of architects. It's a pretty high-end program, so if anybody has some interest around that area, we will have an expert here that week, and that's on the 16th. Is that correct, Tom?
Right. That's on January 16th at 7 p.m.
So we'd like to also hear from you if there's some specific topic that you have you'd like us to talk about. We will be very open to your suggestions so that we'll have this show be your type of show, something that's of interest to you. So call in and let us know what you'd like to hear. And also you can reach me at my email address. That's jim-l@wizardcom. So those of you that know about Internet, you know what to do. Or if you're on Prodigy or CompuServe, you can still reach me. I'll give it to you once more. That's Jim, Jim-L @wizard.com. So that's my email address. So if you have any suggestions or comments about the show, you can email me there, and we can respond directly on the air or, again, over the Internet.
Jim, what is a WizardCom? You say WizardCom. What is this WizardCom?
Well, that's my particular address. It's kind of like an address. If you have, if you're on the Internet, you need to have an address to get your mail.
Hey, we got another call coming in there, Jim.
Hi, you're on KLAV with Tom and Jim.
Hi, you got the computer guys here. What's your question?
Hi, I wondered if you would discuss the pros and cons of upgrading a 386 to a 486, cost factor, and other options.
Boy, I think this is Jim's ballpark here with this hardware. I'm a software type of guy.
Okay.
Okay, well, let me see. This question is probably one of the most asked questions, of course, from people that have older PCs, and we're coming up to a time in computer life that it's a really tough question because computers are almost throwaway at this point. After a couple of years, they become so behind the times that not many of the components are useful in the modern days. So do you know technically about the machine that you have?
Hold on a second. Yes. Well, basically, it's for work. And we've had to, because of cost factors, take a couple of 386s and try to upgrade them.
Yes.
But by the time I put in motherboards, memory, and everything else, it's ending up costing me a small fortune.
Exactly. That's exactly what the problem is, because you see, if some of the components are still useful by today's standards, in other words, if your memory is enough, your monitor is good, things like that, then you may be in good shape to upgrade, because just the motherboard alone isn't that expensive. We're probably talking about $150 for a 486 motherboard with the CPU chip in it, the main chip in it. But if you also have to change the memory and your hard drive...
We had to add memory, and then we found out we may have a faulty hard drive, and then we found out we may have a video card in one that has to go. So it's like once we opened it up, it was like opening up for surgery and finding out bad things.
Unfortunately, that's pretty much the way it goes. I run up against this all the time. I do a lot of upgrades. But again, what I look for is if some of the more expensive components inside are the type that you need today. In other words, does it have 8 megabytes of RAM as a minimum?
It didn't at the time. We've added that now.
Right. So if the motherboard you have can use, if you have, for example, 4, and the new motherboard can take that 4 along with 4 additional, then that's a good upgrade. But if you can't use the RAM chips, that's one of the most expensive components there, then you're probably going to be better off just, especially if your monitor is good, to just get rid of the box, maybe sell it to someone else that's needs to just get started, maybe just needs to do word processing, etc., and maybe sell that to them and just buy a box without the monitor. 486 probably today is probably under $800 if you get it without the monitor.
It's really tough in the computer world to explain to an employer that a machine that you paid $1,400 for 2 years ago just doesn't do it anymore.
Yeah, that it's worth about 200 or less. Yeah.
That's a real difficult one.
I actually run up against this every day, and it's not only for an employer, but for someone that's selling a computer. Maybe they bought it 2 years ago, like you say, for $3,000 or $4,000, and when they put it in the paper, they figure, well, it should be worth at least $2,000. And yet you can go over to the store and buy one, that's 5 times faster, newer, better for less than that. So
right, because now I'm getting double memory. I'm getting a 486 for the 66. I'm getting everything for the same price that everything was 2 years ago.
Exactly. The prices, the machines, it's just been that way since they first started with the PCs. They keep getting faster, better, bigger hard drives, more memory. It keeps going and going, and I don't see that that's going to stop anytime in the near future either. So,
would you recommend a good reference source when you're trying to show an employer or in a work situation that what you need to do doesn't make sense?
Well, probably just the pure prices is, forget about what it originally cost. Just get out a few of the ads from one of the local newspapers, and when you see a brand new Pentium with a CD-ROM and soundboards and everything for $1,200, it's and then just show them the price of motherboards and memory and hard drives and say, and we're still going to be behind the times, and we're going to spend the same amount of money. It just doesn't make economic sense to do it that way.
Okay, second question. I don't know if you discussed brands or not, but I was looking at, I'm really in love with the new little Canon that prints all kinds of colors and does all kinds of graphics.
Yes.
But my computer consultant says you shouldn't go with the Canon when you could go with the Hewlett-Packard. Now, I don't know if you do brand recommendations, but is there a difference between a Canon printer and a Hewlett-Packard printer?
Well, not only is there a difference between those two, but each of them has quite a few different models, starting from under $200 on up to well over $1,000.
These both run in the neighborhood of about $399. They're not they're not the fancy HP 4s or anything.
I got you. Well, it's an inkjet printer if it's doing color, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the lasers when you get into color are quite a bit more expensive. Well, I don't have a particular preference because of the different models. In one particular model I might like an HP, and another I might prefer the Canon. You also should be looking at the Epson color. They do a true 720 DPI that comes out looking pretty photographic. I've been
really unhappy with two Epson inkjets.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's the 800 stylus I've had to try to return for work. So Epson, I'm not happy with Epson now.
Not happy with Epson. Okay. Well, then, you can't go, I don't think you can go wrong with either the Canon or the HP. They've both been around for a long time. Canon with their bubble jet technology, which is a different way of getting the little ink drops to fly through the air and get to the paper. But they both work well. The other thing you might want to look at, though, is the ink consumption, because that does make a big difference.
I heard it's very expensive sometimes.
Yes, so you need to look at the model, see if it has separate cartridges for the different colors. So, for example, if the red runs out, you don't have to throw away a whole cartridge full of blue and green. Some of the printers have, one cartridge for all the colors, and some of the Canons have, you can buy the separate red, green, and blue. So if just one runs out, you can replace that. But that's a very important factor because over the course of a year, you'll spend more in ink than you will on the printer. So if you spend an extra $100 up front on the printer that uses less ink, you'll actually come out cheaper.
We have a small Canon bubble jet that we can use with our laptop, and it's wonderful. It's older now, but it has been a wonderful printer for us. I guess that's one of the reasons I like Canons, but I haven't.
Okay.
No, I mean I haven't had that much experience with the newer things.
Right. Okay, well, is there anything else we can do for you tonight?
I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for calling.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Well, Jim, she kind of hit on a very important point there, upgrading PCs. Just yesterday I was talking to Jim. I said, I think I want to upgrade my PCs so I can get into the multimedia with the CD-ROM and get in tune with all the state-of-the-art equipment. And Jim said to me, well, Tom, I don't know. I don't think you should really upgrade. You should go out there and buy a new PC. It's going to cost you less to buy a new PC. And I think Jim hit it right on the nail there. Right on the, how's that saying go? I don't know how that saying goes. You know how that saying
nail
goes,
on
Jim?
the head, Tom.
Oh, nail on the head. I do that in classes too. I always forget about how these sayings go. So anyway, We're going to break here for a few minutes, and remember to call in at 731-1230 or on your cellular star 1230 for the freebie. Thank you. Hi, I'm Tom.
And I'm Jim.
We're the computer guys. Both myself, Jim, and associates not only run the greatest computer talk show in town, but we also offer a wide variety of computer consulting services for both your personal and business needs, including PC, network, installations, upgrades, and troubleshooting, internet installation and setup. We also offer training for groups or one-on-one tutoring on one or more of the following topics: computer basics, Windows, Windows 95, Microsoft Office, desktop publishing, Novell system administration, and much, much more. So call the computer guys now at 222-7575 and mention you heard us on KLAV AM 1230, and we'll include a free preliminary consultation.
Choosing a DJ can be a frustrating process. Just getting a company to tell you who will be entertaining at your wedding is an almost impossible task. Are you willing to risk your most special of days to a DJ you've never met or know nothing about? When you hire Sight and Sound, you not only know who you're getting, you get the owners. That's right. When you hire Sight and Sound, you get the owners and the host of Weddings Done Right, Pat and Jody Harris, to entertain at your wedding. You get 2 DJs for the price of 1. We have over a decade of experience and the personalities to make your wedding day a memorable one. Remember, the DJ can make or break your party. So call the people that make your reception a day to remember, not a day you'll want to forget. Give us a call at 431-7016. That's 431-7016. As a special radio offer, mention this ad and get a 3-hour party for just $289.
Hi, we're back. We're the computer guys. We have a listener calling in. And hello, are you out there?
Howdy.
Hi, how you doing?
Very good. We're hearing on some of the national talk shows now that we should be able to pick them up. One is already online, on internet. We should be able to pick it up right on the speaker off our computers. Do you know anything about that kind of stuff?
Pick up a talk show?
Yep. National network show.
Okay. Tom, are you familiar with that on the internet?
Not as far as... No, I'm sorry, Jim. That I can't help you with.
Well, I haven't heard about it, but I think I can, in general, say that right now the internet can be used for voice. In other words, while you're on your connection on your computer, if you have a microphone and the right software, you can do voice. However, at the moment, it's kind of slow and buzzy. Not really the best way to. You'd be better off listening to the show on the radio, because it doesn't come across very clear right now. Okay, so again, on that question, I'd say it's probably not the best way to listen to it, but the technology's changing, and in the near future, we should have some improvements in that area.
Plus, if anybody's listening right now and knows the answer to that question, call in that answer for this young gentleman.
That could be an interesting development. They're working also on two-way video for the internet. The problem is the transmission time. Looks like we've got a couple callers.
Got a couple callers coming in, so thank you very much for calling.
Hello, you're live on the air, KLAV, with Tom and Jim, the computer guys.
Hi, I'm Tom.
Hey, and I'm Jim. Who are we talking to?
My name's Robert. Want to talk to Tom there for a minute.
Go ahead.
Hey, Tom.
Yep.
This is Robert.
Robert, how you doing?
From Homie's Hacker Heaven. Remember me?
Oh, yes, I do remember you.
I just want to congratulate you on your show and wish you good luck with it.
Thank you very much, Robert. You take care now.
Okay, next caller. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, how you doing?
Hi, how you doing tonight?
Okay, I have two things. Number one is I have a PC with a 486, and I need to know what I have to do in order to be able to run JPEG and QuickTime, stuff like that.
What do you have to do? You just need the software, actually. I mean, you got a 486. I presume you're running Windows?
Yeah, I got Windows and DOS 6.22.
So you want to be able to look at JPEG files, in other words, picture files that are in the JPEG format?
Correct.
Yeah. Virtually any graphics program today will allow you to view those type of files. Do you have any graphics software at all?
Well, yeah, how about like CorelDRAW?
Sure. Corel should let you look at JPEG files. They support one of the widest formats of graphics files of all the programs.
Okay, so basically I would just bring up Corel, go into the appropriate...
Yeah, and in Corel it would be an import. So you just open up either a blank page and or something that you're working on that you want to import that into, and on the file menu you'll find the word import. Click on that and it'll bring up your file browser. Just find your JPEG file and it'll pull it right in.
Excellent. Any other graphics programs with the same capability come to mind?
Well, if you want to work on JPEG files, see Corel, if you use the Corel Photo Paint to actually modify that, because the Corel Draw is what's known as a vector-based program. So if you want to actually work on it, you want to get something like Picture Publisher or one of the Aldus programs where you can actually work on a pixel-based picture, which a JPEG file is. Are you there? Hello? Okay.
No, he's still there. Go ahead, Colin.
Yeah, how about the Aldus Photo Styler?
Yes, another excellent program. So when you want to actually modify that, for example, you want to change some of the tint in the picture, change the contrast, brightness, you want to use something like Photo Styler or a Picture Publisher, one of those, and generally that's what I would do. I would, I'd touch up the picture first in a program like that and then import it into Corel.
Okay. Now the second part of the question is, I've got an unusual configuration. Originally it was a full tower with 2 5 1/4 drives and 2 3.5s.
Yes.
When I put the 486 motherboard in, the drives were just really, it seemed like they slowed down really considerably.
Wow. The floppy drives?
Yeah. So I got an enhanced IDE card that I put in it. Now, of course, I've only got the 2 drives.
Right.
Any reason come to mind why the drives would seem to be going so much slower after upgrading from the 386 to the 486?
No, because the drives themselves spin at a certain speed, but of course the transfer rate of the data coming off the drive to the computer could be affected by something in there, but what it might be, and changing just the IDE controller. The IDE is actually your hard disk controller, but they usually have floppy on it as well.
Right.
And if that didn't change it, then there's something else going on. It may just be perception, I'm not sure.
Okay.
And or something on your motherboard.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for calling.
You're welcome. Bye.
Right. We have another caller standing by there, Lee? Okay.
Hey, we're back on the
busy
air.
night tonight, yes. So.
Gee, Jim, I didn't think we were going to be so busy tonight. So.
Well, and people can prepare their questions for next week for the internet as well, as I think we were talking about the internet there before the break, and I'm just taking a look over this little article here from the Wall Street Journal again, and it seems like so many people got not just computers but a lot of gadgets for the internet, and they're predicting that next year 90% of all the computers sold will have modems in them, which is,
wow.
Even though the Internet's been so popular during this past year, they're expecting it to go even further. And in fact, every place you look, whether you're watching TV, you're looking at some story in the newspaper, everyone's putting their web address now. You see that funny little HTTP with the colon and the slashes and some names there.
Yep.
That's a web address, so that if you have access to the internet, you can type that little address in, and it'll give you access to some information. For example, the very popular movie out now, Toy Story. Almost every movie that comes out, they'll have a website, and they'll have pictures and stories about how they made the movie and so forth and so on. And it's getting to the point where it's, for big companies, it's almost embarrassing not to have a website. It's kind of like, a major company saying, I don't have a fax machine. So they don't want to be caught that way, so they're all rushing to put together their websites. And a lot of individuals are doing it as well. And a lot of the experts are struggling to catch up themselves. So if you're out there and you're saying, oh my goodness, I'm not on the internet, I'm behind the times, there are a lot of very expert people that are scrambling and trying to figure out how to get their websites up, what do they have to do, what kind of hardware do they need, what kind of software. So it's a whole new ball game. So, and of course, that's the computer business. We're constantly struggling to keep up.
Well, I'm one of those struggling people, Jim. I've been wanting to get. I'm one of those procrastinators. Just keep putting things off and off and off, and never doing what I'm supposed to do. And I've been working with PCs since 1982, and here I am, still not on surfing the net.
Well, Tom, I have a good suggestion for you. You could listen in to the Computer Guys.
Funny, Jim. Real funny.
And learn all about the Internet next week.
Okay.
We do have a caller. Hi, you're on the air with Tom and Jim, the Computer Guys.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
Okay.
Real good. What can we do for you tonight?
My name is Victor. Who's this?
This is Jim.
Hi, Jim. How you doing?
Hi,
How you doing, Tom?
Okay, Victor, how's it going?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
Okay, hanging in there.
Great. Sounds good on the show now, I tell you.
Okay.
What, you have a computer question for us, Victor?
Yes, I do. Actually, I was wondering, I've been looking for some software that would help me converting text to voice. Are you familiar with something like that?
Yeah, I haven't worked with it in a while now, but I pretty much know what it does. Yes.
Okay.
What is the application?
Well, I'm a fanatic with audio tapes. What I like to do is I like to either record myself reading material, or actually what I would prefer doing is being able to scan pages out of a book, for an example, and allow that text to be converted into voice format so I could listen back to it either by recording on a CD-ROM or a cassette or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, it can certainly do it. You can scan the pages in, convert it into text, and then there are actually, you probably even find in shareware some programs that will convert the text files into sound.
Is there any specific name that you think would help me look for? Or?
No, but they should be available just about any place around town, on the Internet, on bulletin boards. I don't have anything for you now.
Have you worked with one of those before?
Yeah, I've had one as long as about 10 years ago.
Really? Wow, it's been around that long?
Yeah,
wow.
It's been around for a while. The problem is they can't quite get rid of that computer-type voice.
Right.
In other words, if you do a book or something, you're not going to have that nice sound to it of a real announcer. It's going to sound like a robot.
I don't think that's really that important personally. I think what's more important is being able to scan it through an OCR or something like that and being able to convert it to sound of some kind. I'm sure it would take a lot of room as far as hard drive space, being that sound uses more bits. You know what I mean?
Well, not really. If you buy a board that converts the text,
a board.
Yeah, the soundboard is going to do it. So you have the software runs through. You have to have a soundboard, otherwise no sound
Sound
is
Blaster,
going to come
you mean?
out. Yes.
Okay.
And
sure.
some of those boards come with the software that will convert text into voice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not a very difficult technology actually. Getting it to sound real well is more difficult.
What format do you think the text gets converted to? Wave format or anything?
No, it actually does it on the fly. So in other words, it doesn't save it as a file, although you probably could. In other words, each time you play it, it's reading the text file. So you're not making any new file.
So I couldn't just scan an entire book, save it to a text file, then at that point play that text file? Is that how
exactly.
It would work?
You would play the text file, and that way it would keep it quite small. As you know, text files stay fairly
in ASCII
small.
format.
Yes, right. And it has to be ASCII, yes.
It would be ASCII.
It can't be like, a word perfect
right,
or a
the
word
codes,
form.
I guess.
Right, exactly.
Great.
So, yeah, and that's, again, it's a fairly simple technology. It's been around a long time, and I believe if you have an actual sound blaster, they did used to include that with it. I don't know if they still do.
I have one that comes with voice assist, but it'll actually record my own voice and plays it back.
but I didn't really look into it if it actually had the capability of playing a text file or even the scanning ability or something.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy technology. So just if you check around in the stores and
You said shareware. There's some around then.
definitely is around on.
Do you know anything
shareware as well.
commercially? Are you familiar with any product on a commercial level?
No, again, I haven't worked with it in a long
Okay.
time, but I know it is easily available. You just need to check around at some of the local stores, and I'm sure you're going to find what you need.
Okay.
Anything else, Victor?
No, that'd be fine for now.
Okay.
I'll think of something
Thanks,
else, I'm
and-
sure.
Okay,
Thanks.
thanks, and keep listening.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Actually, that brings up an interesting topic because about 5 or 6 years ago, I had in one of my training classes a person that was totally blind, and she had some kind of a system. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but it was able to actually read the screen and talk it back, and it was like a talking PC. It was really funny to myself and to my students at the time, but it actually got on everybody else's nerves because you hear this voice, C:\\prom, da 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 da, DIR,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, I can tell by the music it must be time for another break, Tom.
Oh no, another break, Jim? Did you get a breather? Oh, man.
So while we're on this break, grab a hold of that phone and call 731-1230 with your questions, or on your cellular, star 1230 for your free call, and we'll be right back. Laser Dynamics, specializing in computer hardware and software repair, same-day on-site service, service on all makes of laser printers, computer accessories, and high-quality refurbished laser printers, and recycled toner cartridges for all laser printers, copiers, and fax machines. Call Don at 434-9331. Be sure to mention you heard about his business from the Computer Guys, and you'll receive a special rate from Don. Now, don't forget, mention the Computer Guys. 434-9331. Call Don.
For many people, having Uncle Joe videotape the wedding is good enough. But when they get the tape, they usually find out the hard way that was a bad decision. Bad audio, dark, noisy pictures, and missing events are the norm. At Sight and Sound, we pride ourselves in the finest, most creative videos in the industry. We create imagery on the screen that has never been created in exactly the same way by anyone ever before. Your video will recreate all the laughs and tears of your wedding day. At Sight and Sound, we don't just document your wedding, we create a video masterpiece. Look at everyone else's work first, then come see ours. You've never seen video like this before. Don't trust your wedding memories to a company that just documents your most special of days, or to a friend or relative who'd rather be partying than shooting. Call Sight and Sound at 431-7016. That's 431-7016. Mention this ad and get a second camera at your ceremony for just half price.
Hi, I'm Tom.
And I'm Jim.
We're the Computer Guys. Both myself, Jim, and Associates not only run the greatest computer talk show in town, but we also offer a wide variety of computer consulting services for both your personal and business needs, including PC, network, installations, upgrades, and troubleshooting, internet installation and setup. We also offer training for groups or one-on-one tutoring in the following areas: computer basics, Windows, Windows 95, Microsoft Office, desktop publishing, Novell system administration, and much, much more. So call the Computer Guys now at 222-7575 and mention you heard us on KLAV AM 1230, and we'll include a free preliminary consultation. Hi, we're back. We're the computer guys.
I'm Jim.
And I'm Tom.
How you doing, everyone?
Welcome back.
Well, I'm sure everybody just can't wait to hear all about ISDN lines, URLs, DNSs, and
Oh boy, Jim,
and slip PPP accounts.
Oh my God, and that's next week on the internet. Oh boy, you're gonna have to keep me awake there, Jim.
On the other hand, we still have those poor people with their boxes full of computer parts waiting to put them together, and this is our beginners show. And
yeah,
apparently we have a pretty sophisticated audience out there. The questions tonight were very good, right on line with many of the more sophisticated things happening in the computer world today. But for the good of those people that still want to get them out of the box, we'll like to carry on that conversation a little bit before we close up for the night, Tom.
Yeah, well, first thing is you open up the box and you find this square box. Well, it's a box within the box. It's a metal container, some kind of metal container. And that metal container is called your system box. That's your system. Now, what you want to do is place that on a desk or some kind of a sturdy frame desk or whatever, table, some kind of a table. From there, you're going to open up another box, and in there is going to be the actual monitor. Now, the monitor looks like your TV screen, okay, just in case you didn't know what the monitor was. Now, hopefully you didn't go to one of those stores or somebody didn't buy you just the system unit without the monitor. So if they did, what you got to do is you got to call the computer guys at 225-222-7575.
What was that number again, Tom?
22, like room 222, 222-7575. And we'll supply that. Like room 222, 222-7575, and we'll supply that monitor for you.
I thought I heard a choo-choo train.
Your choo-choo train, all right. So you take this monitor and you put it on the system unit. Well, unless you have a tower unit, right, Jim? Those tower units that sit underneath your desk, those big, tall, humongous things that you showed me the other day.
You can tell which is which by where the feet are. The little rubber feet.
Oh, the little rubber feet. If the little
rubber feet go on the bottom.
Yeah, well, they always go on. Well, yeah, right. They go on the bottom, right? They're
so
like
if it stands up tall, it's a tower.
Yeah.
When you got the little rubber feet on the bottom.
Oh, the little rubber feet, right? And they look like
and if it's short and fat, then it's a desktop.
Oh, short and fat. Yeah. Like some people we know. But anyway.
Yes, Tom.
Well, anyway. Well, some of them come like these things that look like coasters, little rubber coasters.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to go on the bottom, right, Jim?
I think that the thing that a lot of people get worried about is how they're going to hook these things together. They get all the pieces out of the box now. Now, how the heck there's a bunch of wires there. Well, where do they go?
They're going to go to the computer guys, Jim.
No, come on, Tom. They're in their home now. They're anxious to get this thing going. And what do they need to do?
Well, they have to plug those long wires into the plug. And hey, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We have a call coming in.
Hi, you're on KLEV with Tom and Jim, the computer guys.
Thank you. I have a quick question for you. I've been running Windows 3.11.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been thinking about going to Windows 95, but I've been hearing a lot of bad things about it. What's your recommendation?
Actually, there's a lot of good things and there's a lot of bad. The good news and the bad news, as they say. I've run it on a number of different machines and installed it on a number of machines. And quite honestly, I have had some problems installing it on an existing machine. Matter of fact, one machine I just basically wiped everything off of it, and then it just installed the Windows 95 and had to reinstall all the software. Not putting it back like a backup, but actually reinstalling it from the original disks, and then everything worked fine. So it seems that if you buy it, like a new one with Windows 95 on it, or you start out with a fresh new hard drive and install it, it seems to work really well. I'm actually very happy with the machine I'm using at home now. But I did go through several weeks of problems of putting it on and taking it off till I finally wiped it all out.
So it could be a 50-50 whether it would work for you or not.
Yeah, it depends on the equipment that's in your machine and the software that's in your machine. I mean, there are, let's face it, there are so many millions of combinations. They actually couldn't account for every possible combination when they built this. So there are definitely cases that it does run into problems. But I would also say that the Microsoft people are very, very helpful If you give them a call on their helpline, they're very responsive. They're really concerned about making this work for people. So they do. If they can't answer your phone call right away and resolve the problem, they do call you back. They're really working hard to make it successful. Obviously, they'll probably make a few $1 billion if they do that.
It might be another year down the line before they actually get all the bugs out of it.
Yeah, I would look at, do you have a lot of other equipment in your computer now? modems and scanners?
Oh, yeah, yes.
You do?
Yeah, have the modems. And you've been burning it in, and time to upgrade to a 28.8 or something.
Right. Well, I would consider, especially since hard drives are so inexpensive now, is possibly getting an extra hard drive and install it on there, and so that you're not stuck, having a non-operative machine. Because it does have an on-install, which I definitely recommend. While you're installing it, asks you, do you want to make it so that it can uninstall? You definitely say yes to that if you go ahead and do it. And second of all, sometimes if it really crashes bad, it won't uninstall. So
you lose everything.
Yes, you definitely want to do a backup. Do you have a tape backup machine?
No, I don't.
You don't?
No, I guess I'll have to break out a gazillion floppies to get this one done.
Yeah, it's not the way to go anymore. I mean, for $150, you can buy a tape backup nowadays. It'll back up your whole hard drive.
That's true.
So, it doesn't pay not to have a tape backup. I mean, it depends on what's on your machine. But if it's anything that you really want to save, you're putting any time into, whether it's your typing or your graphics or spreadsheets or whatever, you want to make sure you have a backup, even at home now, because there's so much information that you can be storing on your computer. So
that's true.
You should have a backup anyway. So that's probably the way to go. Do a backup first, and then go ahead and give it a try.
Okay.
And if you run into problems, you know who to call, right?
Yeah, the computer guys.
We'll be happy to help you out. Just give us a call anytime, even if you're right in the middle of it, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Right, you too.
Thank you. Actually, Jim, one of our sponsors, Laser Dynamics, Don, he's pretty familiar, actually, very familiar with Windows 95. And we're going to have him someday soon on the show, and we can ask the callers to call in with some Windows 95 questions for him, and he'll be glad to probably answer them.
Good,
those questions.
That's another point. We will be having guests almost every week starting on the 16th. And for tax season, around the end of January, the beginning of February, we'll be having a tax expert in to talk about tax software and what's the state of the art of tax software, and should you be doing your taxes on your computer or taking it to a professional. So, and it looks like we're getting close to wrapping up, Lee, or
we have a little bit of time left.
A little bit of time left.
We do.
So
wow.
let me just give the last word of advice to those people that went and got their computers out of the box.
Oh,
now.
yeah, and they got the black wire, and they're ready to plug it in. Jim, go ahead.
Don't panic, because all of the wires, when you go to connect them, you can't plug them in the wrong place. Each one of the connectors is different on the back of your computer. So just look at the end of the cable and find the slot that looks the most like it, and that's probably where it goes. It won't fit in the wrong slot. So the printer goes into one of them, the power cord has to go to another place, and what else we have? The keyboard, a mouse, and one more.
And
the monitor.
The monitor, Jim, the
monitor.
TV screen.
Because the little box has to send a signal up to the TV thing, the monitor, in other words.
TV thing?
We
the
call
monitor,
it TV.
right,
that's how we start off the basic class over there, Tom.
That's right, the TV thing. That's right.
TV thing, we call it a monitor.
Yeah, it looks like a TV.
The box is the system. Or sometimes they call it a CPU, but technically the CPU is just a little chip inside. The famous Intel chip. And today we have others as well.
Yeah, especially nowadays with the CD-ROM. I know we got to wrap this up soon, but with the CD-ROM, I saw it on Jim's machine. He could play videos, music videos, on his PC, just like on TV.
Sound and music.
Yeah, it's amazing what these PCs can do nowadays.
You're really going to enjoy it, so... Well, I guess we're going to really enjoy getting out of here, Tom. And,
we're not. Well, next week, when we come back, please call in at 731-1230.
KLAV, the talk of the town.
Right, and when you call, when you're setting up those PCs, you have any questions about where the plug, maybe you plugged it in the wrong way, ask those questions next week when we come back.
Thanks, everyone, and have a prosperous new year.
Yes, the Computer Guys. Ready or not, here we go.
The preceding program, The Computer Guys, was sponsored by The Computer Guys.